mercy was with me all of the way. His goodness stayed close by to meet all my needs. My Lord is taking good care of me. I'm never forsaken, I'm never alone. One day I'm moving to my brand new home. I'm blessed beyond measure, just look close, you'll see. My Lord is taking good care of me. I'm counting my blessings as I journey along. Good friends, a family, and a place to call home. The church where I worship, the Bible I read. My Lord is taking good care of me. When Satan comes tempting and he brings up my past, I just tell him I'm forgiven and it's buried at last. The blood shed on Calvary now speaks for me. My Lord is taking good care of me. I'm never forsaken, I'm never alone. One day I'm moving to my brand new home. I'm blessed beyond measure, just look close, you'll see. My Lord is taking good care of me. I'm never forsaken, I'm never alone. One day I'm moving to my brand new home. I'm blessed beyond measure, just look close, you'll see. My Lord is taking good care of me. I'm blessed beyond measure, just look close, you'll see. My Lord is taking good care of me.
Their heads were low, their steps were slow, as they walked along that long Emmaus road. Then a man appeared, and as he drew near, he said, "Why are you so sad? Are things really that bad?" And they said, "Sir, have you not heard why you must be a stranger in this town? For the one who came in the Father's name, well, he has been cut down. They laid his body in the ground." And as they walked and talked, he began to explain about this Jesus and why he came. Opened the scriptures, began to teach. That preacher of preachers, he began to preach. In the wilderness, the children had nothing to eat. Open manna from heaven fell down to their feet. They were dry and thirsty in a foreign land. Living water came forth out of a rock in the sand. When the three Hebrew children were thrown in the flames, a fourth man appeared. They even called him by name. The man of the water, the man, they're all the same. But if you're so confused, let me say this real plain. It was me. It was me. Ain't I the one you left back there on Calvary? Oh, it was me. In the sky, who do you think turned to stand tonight? Who made the flowers? Who made the trees? Who made the sun, the moon, and the seas? And who It was me. It was me. Yes, I'm the one who died for you on Calvary. It was me. He said, who loved you when no one else would, and who saved you when no one else could. And he said, that was me.
Batter up for a night of epic fun at the Paley Museum's MLB Home Run Derby Watch and Gaming Party on July 15th. Watch the Home Run Derby on the big screen, compete for the most virtual home runs, win prizes, and more. Don't miss the Home Run Derby at the Paley Museum, July 15th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets at paleymuseum.org.
Might as well be. Janice is ready.
I was at one part.
Troublemaker still.
Did you think it'd change? Hey, let's turn to page 532. 532, and stand if you would, please.
dead. More every day.
He redeemed himself, 'cause I'm gonna get on him when he got back here.
We may not know the song, but we know the story. Let's put it that way. How's that? It is good to be in God's house this evening. It's good to have you guys with us. Those who've been traveling, Scotty and his family, good to have you guys back. Matt Keith's mom and dad's here, so I don't know. Matt, is it great to have him here? Are you ready to send him back, or? Or maybe I should just ask Jack that question, you know? Get different versions, but anyway, good to have you guys here. And, should I say it, Savannah? Okay, should I say it? Good to have Savannah back. She can only come when Black comes to church, so I'm just picking on her. No, I walked up here and told her that, and Matt said, next time somebody asks you that, punch him, so. So anyone got something on the heart they want to share this evening? Song, testimony?
I think this song's love letter to me. Just pray for me here up to the right. Just pray. I think I'll do all right. Okay.
Well, if he's coming, I would like to stand before the church camp that it was well and hot. And we had one saved Monday night, and it was hot. The spirit's hot, the food was hot. But this is the first encampment in 5 years. So we had 4 total return campers. Joel, Julianne, Emmett, and Ari. And I think you all met Emmett maybe. They are 8 and
10,
10.
Aria's 8.
Oh, I got 'em back. But anyways, you can tell our kids, they came to camp, and they are examples, and they're leading by example. I couldn't have been more proud if they'd been my own, because that's what they were there. So I watched the group of kids that's come. They don't know anything about Ohio Valley Camp. They don't know what you do, what you don't do, what you surrender to in the spirit, and they're learning these things. And Olivia and Alex, that popped right up there, even though they've never been to camp. That foursome was on the front row, and they were leading by example. And it's doing wonders there. You could tell last night the kids are starting to mix, just the way camp does. As the week goes on, it's like it snowballs to a credenza that is just awesome. And hopefully we'll see more saved, more grow in their faith in next year. Hopefully we will have more. It's already been stated there will be camp next year, and probably at the same hot place. They moved it from July to June, so it'd be cooler, and it's unseasonably hot right now. So it was just 101 index on Monday. And then yesterday, it was like 93 index, but there's a pond there. They've got a trampoline in the pond now, and they love to go get wet. So that takes care of the heat, so you can get dressed for church and come to church and sing chapel, but it's hot. But, no, they do not. So, it's a little, the only place with the air is in the cook's cabin, and it was, or not the cook's cabin. The cook's cabin does have air, but the kitchen, the air wasn't working very well either. So, it's just one of those, when you wanna go to camp, go to camp. You don't care what it's about, what's going on. And I had a really good time. I got sick Monday night, I think it was heat related. Then Tuesday, I was better. And today, I didn't want to leave. And we had appointments, we had to come back, and I just didn't want to leave. It was, you just, when tonight or tomorrow, I think that camp's going to pop, and they're going to understand what the Holy Spirit is. And our kids are leading, even the two in Rockland Camp. They're making friends, they're showing, and I was very proud of them for that. And singing, and Julianne, she'll talk about when she comes back, because they have what they call flagpole. Once you get up, get ready, you go to the flagpole, and they sing crazy songs that makes you do, like Father Abraham, you know, motions. Well, apparently, of course, nobody knew it, because nobody's been to camp before. So I guess Julianne, and Monday night, Bobby said, Julianne, you're leading the flag, and she did perfect, and she submitted the punishment. If the cabin doesn't sing, they have to go before everybody and sing the punishment song, I Am a Little Teapot. And it was the teenage boys. So they didn't know what a teapot was or the song. So their counselor, who has been many years in Brett Elkins, he's been here preached, he said, I'll be with my cabin and I'll show you how. So they learned the teapot, and they tilted the teapot. So when they did cabin pictures, that's what they did. So they'll remember that. But just pray that they'll continue to have the Holy Spirit there, continue to flow from breast to breast, as we do every time we have camp. There are some young people, what they have to put up with from parents that are lost is amazing, what young people go through. And that one that came Monday night, that was really big. I got the Glory Bones talking about that. And it was after church. She didn't go to altar call. She went after church was done. And it was very awesome. We pray more that we'll go, and it doesn't hurt to pray that the Lord turn the temperature down some if He would. So, pray for them, and love you so back there.
I didn't want to fall, yeah. To me, this is the most fitting song for the service. And maybe you'll be able to tell what it is. I'm going to hope that y'all pray for me. I mean, my teacher says I need to start getting up here and playing. But I make a lot of mistakes. But, you know, you learn that them kids can learn so much faster than you can. And you don't realize it till you get older and you start attempting something like this. And if I'd had this go over, I'd start from about 3. But, but y'all pray for me. Let me start that over. say all pianos are the same.
But they're not.
Well, that was you can identify that song. Seeing you got the second hand in there too. See, you're getting better. Now when you start singing with it. Someone else tonight, song or testimony, something you want to share.
I'll share. I learned a pretty good lesson this weekend, or this week. Like Jesus, Pastor Luke is everywhere. We got to Ocala, Florida, and the first thing we see is an Exit Elevation Realty sign. I showed him a picture of it. But I also just want to thank the Lord for the encounters that we had and being able to represent Him and just allow us to have a good time and safe travels and stuff. A few of the encounters was probably the most important encounter was we was at the Surf Style, which is a surf shop / t-shirt shop, souvenir shop in Clearwater. And there was a young lady in there that was working the register. She actually checked us out, and she was on a missions trip. And she had it was a summer job, and she'd been there 2 weeks. And she told us that there was 5 people that got saved on the beach, because of what they were doing there. And then I had an encounter at Walmart down there. I seen a guy wearing a God's Word shirt. And it just piqued my interest, so I got to testify to him. And then there was a lady that was wearing a shirt, a spiritual shirt, I can't quite remember what that one said, but it was at the trampoline park, and I got to testify to her and stuff, and just being able to have the opportunity to go, meant a lot. One of the most precious things I've ever seen was when Noelle seen Eeyore at the Crystal Palace. Like she melted, and you could just see through that image that every dime was worth it, and that was why we were there, was so she could experience that, even though she may not remember when she gets older. But just seeing the innocence and the love that she had for that character, it was just unreal. It was a good time. We got to see a lot of things. I got to swim in the Gulf of Mexico, which was the only thing I wanted to do. And then we got to eat a good seafood meal and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was a good experience. I'm glad to be able to have that. And he made it possible. And I just want to thank him for that.
Someone else. I'm going to be over in Philippians chapter 4 tonight. If you want to turn your Bibles there, it says, I talked to, we took the kids up to camp and dropped them off. We sat there for a few minutes, and of course Bobby told Joel that he was preaching on Sunday night. So, no, hold it, not Sunday night. I got my days mixed up. Monday night, because we took him up Monday. So he was preaching that night, and so Joel was kind of like nervous because he thought it would be later on in the week. But he had some stuff. He'd been preparing a little bit, so he had a little bit ready. So me and him was talking, and we got ready to leave, and he said, "Do you think I'll be preaching again this week?" I said, "I don't know, son, but I would start getting something together, just or something." And he's like, "Well, I don't really know what to do." And I said, "How about the word fortify? You want a topic? How about fortify?" And that was just a topic that had been on my mind, and I really didn't give him any more details than that, other than what fortify was. So tonight, I'm going to share that topic with you guys just a little bit. And I'm going to be honest, I've been on vacation, so I ain't been done doing a whole lot. So I didn't dive into this like super deep, but I'm going to give you just a little bit. So I really didn't have there are verses in the Old Testament that talk about the word fortify, but not in the sense that we want to talk to them about this evening. So when you think of fortify, what comes to your the definition of fortify for sure?
That's all I can think of.
One time I don't think of food, somebody thinks of food.
When I
Yeah.
think of fortify, I think of making it official.
Yeah, it's. Well, I'm not trying to bring up any old memories. I know Steve served in Vietnam, but I was thinking of, and he could probably tell you a whole lot more detail, but the Battle of Khe Sanh in Vietnam. And they were under siege from January 25th or 21st through July the 5th. And we had some Marines there, we had some Army there, a few Air Force. Gary probably remembers some of it. And they were it. There was 3 divisions of the North Vietnamese around them. Tried to run over the base with their infantry many times. They would be caught at night trying to go through the wire. And I couldn't help but think that when they first got there, they heard of some rumblings about some gathering of troops from the North Vietnamese there. So the first thing they did was fortify their base. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, from a military standpoint, you go around, you look at all your weak spots. You look at your blind spots. You look at what needs reinforced so that the enemy doesn't sneak up this side or behind you or over here. You identify your weak spots. And that's where you dig trenches. You put your barbed wire fences. You station troops. You put outposts. You put listening posts. You put all these things in place to identify when the enemy's coming at you. As Christians, and when we first got there at camp this year, I was thinking, and I didn't know very many of the people there, but I thought, man, this is a camp, and these kids need fortified. So I give that topic to Joel. I don't know what he done with, if anything. But tonight, as Christians, whether we're at camp or whether we're at home, we have to fortify ourselves against the wilds, against the devil, against the thing he's going to bring at us. And first of all, we have to look at ourselves. Listen, the devil knows your weakest spots.
Oh, yeah.
So where in your life, if you look back a little bit over your life, you can identify the places that you make mistakes. You can remember those. Guess what? The devil knows them better than you do. Because that's where he's going to bring things against you. Because he thinks that he can overpower you at that spot, at that point, whatever it is in your life. So when we think about it, we have to fortify our life against that. Now, this is not a prepper story. This is not a doomsday. This is not a survivor thing. But when you store up things, just as like the military did at Khe Sanh, it wasn't enough just to have men in place. They had to have ammo to fight. They had to have food to fight. They had to have water. They had to have all these supplies that was necessary for day-to-day survival, much less to have an enemy fighting at you that you have to repel. And just like that, as Christians, we still have to have all those same things. So look with me over into Philippians chapter 4 real quick. And we're going to read just a little bit. Starting down in verse 6. It says, "Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your request be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and your minds through Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Those things which ye have both learned and received and heard and seen in me do, and the God of peace shall be with you." When we fortify ourselves against the devil, against the things, in verse 8, there's a list of things that we should do. Now, that's not an inclusive list of everything that we need to do to fight off the devil, to fight off Satan, to fight off sin. But I couldn't help but think back against Daniel and the Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You know, when they came into that land and the king, we don't want that. We just want, what was it, bread and water. So the story goes on. What's the word? Proactive, not reactive. Reactive is when something happens to you and you react to it and you make a decision and whatever you're going to do when it comes at you. Being proactive is setting things in place so that when stuff comes to you, you already know what you're going to do. So, if you know something's coming against you and you purpose in your heart not to defile yourself, that means we're getting ourselves ready so that when Satan brings these attacks against us, we can purpose in our heart that we're not going. If we're not pure, if we're not showing love, we can't set up defenses if we're lacking in areas that Satan knows where our weaknesses are at. He's going to come get us, and he's going to hit us right in them spots. Those spots are different from each and every person, but those things that make you weak, it may be a strong place for me. The spots that I'm weak in might be a strong spot for you. And as I spoke, what was it, last Wednesday maybe? We need to be helping one another out. We need to be bearing one another's burdens. We need to be helping when you see somebody falter and you're weak in a spot that you need to reach over and help. In this battle at Khe Sanh, if the enemy was infiltrating through one certain spot, it wasn't everybody vacate that spot, just let them have it. No, you sent troops from this side over here to fight over here to reinforce the people that's fighting over there so that they don't get overran. It's the same way that we need to be in church. If someone's being overran, it's not, hey, well, let them fight their own battle. No, we're Christians. We're brothers and sisters. We go and we help each other. You're not alone in this fight to be a Christian. Not only do you have your brothers and sisters, but we have a Heavenly Father, and He has all the resources that we need. He is watching the battle, and He knows what's going on. He's not going to leave us alone. He's going to say, hey, Belinda, so-and-so needs a little bit of help. And Belinda, in her way, may pray, may go visit, may send money, may help them with food, whatever it is that they need. Hey, Matt, so-and-so needs something as well. You know, it's as brothers and sisters, that's our job in our church. We have a blessing box that helps people down the road. We keep it full. From time to time, when someone needs help, we're there for them. We take up love offerings. We do for different things. And that's the way our God works. But when we do that, it is supposed to be for His glory. And when we set up our strongholds where we're fighting off the enemy, and when that weakness shows up, He can direct so-and-so to help and help and help. And when you're going through a valley, when you're going through something in your life, all it takes is a word of encouragement from someone else. Say, hey, I'm praying for you. Keep up the good work. Just hang in there. It's going to be all right. God's got this. Just as sometimes that word of encouragement, and we can strengthen those weak spots. And we don't have to be overran by the devil. I know this is not I know, like I told you, I didn't research this and go into great depth on it, but these were just a couple things that I was thinking when you talk about fortifying. Yeah, we have to purpose in our heart. That's where it starts, is with you, with me. And when we put that defense that I'm going to stand for God, no matter what comes my way, then we need to stand on that. Starts with a purpose, then we got to stand, and God's going to help us. Someone with a thought, something else. So next few weeks,
I'm going to try and hearing them talk about church camp made me miss going to church camp quite a bit. I was 9 years old the first time I went. I went from 2000 to 2015. I liked it very much. I miss it a lot. But what Jeff was talking about with getting fortified at church camp, it's very true. We did that every year. I'd go and you'd be on this big spiritual high when you got back, and it was just awesome to see what God did through church camp. I got saved my first year at church camp. I think it was the first time I met Luke and Belinda was at church camp. My first year, I think Luke was my counselor, and I was a very restless sleeper, and I decided I was going to sleep on the top bunk. 9 years old, restless sleeper, top bunk with no railings. What could go wrong? I fell out the very first night onto the concrete. Luke was there within a second. I don't know if you were. Do you even remember that? You did? And I woke up the next day. I thought it was a dream. But I was on the bottom bunk. I woke up and I got out of bed and I limped. And I was like, what happened? That was probably Luke's first experience with me, too. But I met a lot of great people through church camp. If you guys, kids or grandkids, have a chance to go in the future, I definitely recommend it. We're going to be doing a study of the book of Ruth. Luke texted me at the beginning of the month to ask if I was doing anything June 19th. I said no. He said, would you like to do a Bible study? And funnily enough, I had just finished reading Ruth, I think the day before, and I was like, man, that'd be a good Bible study. And I thought, well, one day is probably not going to get us through the whole book of Ruth. And then he texted, would you like the next week too? And I said, sure. Do you think I could get through all 4 chapters of Ruth in 2 weeks? He said, no, but you could have more time. I said, hey, okay. So you guys are stuck with me for the next 4 weeks. I don't know. Hopefully it goes well. So we'll be in the book of Ruth, like I said, chapter 1. Probably we're going to be jumping around just a little bit because chapter 1, there's a lot of backstory, and I'm even going to go into a little bit more of backstory with what's going on here. So chapter 1, verse 1 in the book of Ruth, it says, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. And a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. So we're setting up what's going on. This gives us the setting. They're in the country of Moab. It's in the time of the judges. It was approximately 100 to 150 years before Saul became king in Israel, and we know there's a famine in the land. For those of you that don't know, let me grab a pointer here. Moab is this red. Where they traveled from was Bethlehem in Judah, right here. So there's a great sea right here. It's current day. Moab is no more. Currently what's there is the country of Jordan. So I'd assume they either came down here and crossed here. I doubt they crossed here. There's some mountains there. That's just my assumption. They came down here and crossed here. Very slow travel, I would assume. Quite a distance to walk. So I asked myself, where did Moab come from? So we're going to look at a couple notable mentions of Moab. In Judges chapter 3, I think the last time I preached it was about Judges, and in the book of Judges and the book of Kings, all throughout the Bible you see people following God, people disobeying God, and in the Judges chapter 3, that's where the Israel stops following God again, and God sends the Moabites under King Eglon to enslave the Israelites for 18 years. And then God uses the judge Ehud to slay Eglon and free Israel from the Moabites. So you may be like me and ask yourself, where do the Moabites come from? Does anybody know where the Moabites come from? The origin of the Moabites. Moab is a great guess, but who was Moab?
I started to say that, to be funny.
It's a good guess. All right, so Moab comes from Lot in Genesis chapter 19, 30 through 38. We'll read there here in just a second. But a lot of the stories of Lot, we find out Lot wasn't really a great guy. Some examples of Lot, he seemed to be a guy that just kind of did what he wanted, in my opinion. We see twice that Abraham saves him. Once he's kind of gets captured and Abraham goes and rescues him. And then another time is when Lot's in Sodom and Gomorrah. And Lot's rescued from Sodom and Gomorrah not necessarily because he's righteous, but because Abraham prays for him. So here is another Lot story. If you want to flip over there, you can. Will be Genesis 19, 30 through 38. This is where Moab comes from. And it says, I'm in the wrong spot. Hang on just a second. There we go. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him. For he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink the wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab, the same as the father of the Moabites unto this day. So that's where Moab comes from. One of the weirdest, kind of creepiest stories in Genesis. That's where we get the Moabites. So I would assume if that's how they started, it's probably not a great place to live. We'll go on. So the Moabites worshiped the god named Chemosh. I believe that's how it's said. Chemosh is associated with Ashtaroth and Moloch, which may be some of the gods that you've heard of from the Old Testament. So Chemosh was known for human sacrifice, most notably child sacrifice. And it's crazy the detail that the Bible packs into just like small little sections of the Bible. So Moloch and Chemosh are both associated with child sacrifice. And I've always found cultures that offer human and child sacrifice to be crazy. However, I've kind of recently heard a lot of people talking about really the God of America has become the God of ourselves. So I've started to follow these people. They have really got me kind of convinced that today, if we're our God of ourselves and we look at how many abortions are performed every year, I looked up the statistic. In 2023, there was 1,260,690 abortions performed just in the U.S. So that is, to me, child sacrifice going to the God of ourselves. I've heard that said quite a few times over the last couple years. So if we look at Moab in the book of Ruth, we may find that the Moabites' culture, even though they did child sacrifice, that can kind of ring home to today, as sad as that sounds. So now we'll go back to Ruth chapter 1. So we'll skip verse 1 again. It says, in verse 2, it says, now the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. And the man and his sons, Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah, and they came into the country of Moab and continued there. So they moved to Moab, as I said, because of the famine in their land. Verse 3, it says, and Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left, her son and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab, and the name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, of them and both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So now we have Naomi. She's moved. If we go back to her map, she's moved to Moab. Not only is it a place she doesn't know, it is a place that's not her people. Her husband's dead and her 2 sons are dead, and she's left with 2 in-laws. I don't know how many of you would like to have your family dead and left with your in-laws. Me and my mother-in-law would probably kill each other. We were just talking while we were eating dinner. My son already seems to have a sense of direction, but my wife has no sense of direction at all. So if it was my mom and my wife, and the rest of us were gone, they would be lost, because neither of them have a sense of direction. So, to make this relatable, I mean, I don't know if she had a sense of direction or not, but she's in a foreign land, her family's dead, she has 2 daughter-in-laws now to take care of, that her sons were taken care of, now it's just the 3 of them. And I believe Naomi here feels like she's cursed, and I ask everyone here, have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like almost God's picking on you? So that's how I think Naomi felt, and we'll see that a little bit more going forward. It says in verse 6, then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Therefore she went forth out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, go, return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them and lifted them up, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And they said unto her, surely we will return with thee to thy people. And Naomi said, turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them to be grown? Would ye stay for them having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. So focusing in on verse 13 here, Naomi is basically telling them that, you know, if you stay with me, if I have a son now, I mean, it's going to be years before he's an adult. You can't, there's no point to stay with me. You can't have a husband. You can't be married to any of my kids. I have no more family. And then we also see in at the end of verse 13, Naomi says, the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. So this really tells me that Naomi feels like God's kind of against her at this point in her life. And then she tells her daughters-in-law to return to their people and return to their gods. However, we see that both of them, they both say that they want to go with her. So that kind of tells me that through all of this going on in Naomi's life, that there's been some kind of witness of God that they've seen either through Naomi or through her 2 sons that there's something there that they want to follow. And we'll see that going on. But then we also see that Orpah leaves, and then it says that Ruth clave unto her. And while I was studying this, I've heard this before. I just kind of want to hit this while we're here. Let me make sure I'm not getting ahead of myself. Yes, that word clave. So I'm probably going to butcher this word. The Hebrew word is dawbak, I believe. It's the word to cling, to cleave, to stay with, or to pursue closely or overtake. So if somebody's leaving, you overtake them to stop them. Some people recently have taken that word, the Hebrew word there, to mean that Naomi and Ruth had a homosexual relationship. But I believe if we look at the connotation of the verse, that is definitely not the case. She's crying because she wants to be with her mother-in-law. She's lost her husband, who this was her mother-in-law. And we see time and time again in this that Naomi tells them to go and pursue a man. So I just kind of wanted to hit that while we're here because it's definitely not true. The reason people say that is because in Genesis chapter 2:24, it says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave," which is that same Hebrew word, "unto his wife." But if we look at the connotation of that, it's talking about a man and a woman. Anyways, use your clues while reading the Bible, and you won't get confused. That's my lesson there. All right, let's go on to verse 15. "And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and unto her gods. Return after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. Or whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part me from thee. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her." So now we see Ruth gives this I don't know what word to use here. She in no uncertain terms says, "I'm going with you wherever you're going." So somehow Ruth is like completely sold out on whatever Naomi's got, Naomi's God, Naomi's people, and she wants to follow Naomi wherever she goes. I don't know if some of their grief has brought them together too. I'd say that's probably likely. But if we go on to verse 19, it says, "So they went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass, when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them. And they said, Is this Naomi? And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest." So we see here Naomi comes back. She's brokenhearted. She's devastated. She's bitter. She's lost her husband. She's lost her son. She was in a strange land. I don't know how they got back. I assume they walked. They may have walked. They either walked or rode a donkey or a horse, I guess. But there's just a lot going on in her life. And so much so that she asked the people to call her Mara, which literally means bitter, because of how bitterly she felt that God had treated her and her feelings because of it. So Ruth, this first chapter kind of ends in a depressing state. Naomi is depressed. I'm sure Ruth has some of that going on too, because she's also lost a husband. However, I do like to note that this chapter kind of sets up how the entire book of Ruth goes. It starts, it's very sad. They leave because there's a famine, there's no food, and then they return at the time of harvest. And we see in chapter 2 and chapter 3 that this isn't just the time of harvest, it's a very good harvest. So that is how the story of Ruth goes. Starts out kind of sad, but we'll get somewhere in the end. I just want to make a note here that harvest is really foreshadowing what's to come. So come back next week.
All right, so good introduction. We want to thank Brother Matt tonight for kind of getting that thrown out there for the book of Ruth. We look forward to the next 3 weeks as that comes together. So we do want to close out our service tonight in prayer. The first thing that we do want to mention is you do need to pray for Matt, that he lives to come back here next week. He dug a deep well there tonight. So, not in front of everybody. All right. Again, let's do.
Don't have 3 of them to tackle. One of them's got to go back home.
So it has been mentioned a couple of times. We do want to remember church camp, and remember that this week. Great things are going on there. So who else has a spoken prayer request tonight? talked to him since Monday? Yeah. Okay. Then I won't say a word.
Oh, yes, we did that night, but
Okay.
other than that.
Okay. I'll still wait. Eddie. No, you didn't. And her mommy forgot her. We're just picking on everybody tonight. Go ahead, Eddie.
Kind of personal deal. I've been told that I have been exposed to Lyme disease. But they're saying the test is not showing Lyme disease, and they'll run the test again in 6 weeks.
Okay.
I ain't got Lyme disease.
That's right. Ronnie. Donna. Go ahead, Donna. Belinda.
I do want to give the Lord praise for Sunday evening. I had asked for prayer for my foot. The next day it felt so much better. It's still not 100%, but it is a whole different situation.
That's right. Vacation Bible School is about a month away. Yeah. frustrating? All right. She's okay. Yep. Anybody else? All those with unspoken prayer requests tonight. We're going to ask everybody to stand if you would. And, of course, this will be our dismissal prayer as well. And want to invite everybody back Sunday morning. We'll be here at 10 o'clock for Sunday school and 11 o'clock for our morning service. So, again, we want to thank Brother Matt for bringing out the lesson tonight, and we look forward to the continuation of the book of Ruth. So let's all bow your heads if you would. And Bruce, going to ask you if you would tonight to lead us out, and everybody pray. Amen.